think at this very turbulent time in America, it's important to remember that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's legacy will be one for decades as an attorney, as a judge, and then as a Supreme Court justice for a quarter of a century, upholding and fighting for rights for all. It's been said she fought for women's rights, but she was very clear to say, no, I'm not fighting for women's rights. I'm fighting for the equality of men and women that is there in the U.S. Constitution. And she did that on matters of class. She did that on matters of race. And she did that on matters of basic provision, such as issues like health care, which was raised yesterday by Joe Biden as he challenged the Trump attempt to try to rush through a conservative replacement, who arguably could undo a lot of what Ginsburg did, both in her rulings and in her basically message to the American people.
Her death has been a real reminder of just the influence that the court wields over the US system of government, over lots of very thorny, complicated issues, voting rights, abortion rights. What are some of the fundamental issues that will be shaped by her vacancy and then whoever fills it?
Well, I think it's important to note, first of all, that Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, said after Donald Trump was elected in 2016, this was his mission, to pack the court with conservative justices, to overturn a lot of the civil rights legislation, to push back on a lot of the issues that have been in American politics in the past, 20 years. For example, the court could rule in a way that means hundreds of thousands of legal and undocumented immigrants will be deported. The court could rule in such a way that civil rights, including gender rights, could be pushed back. The court could rule in such a way that environmental protections are stripped. And I think what you'll see is the front line issue that will be raised by the Biden campaign. The court could rule in such a way that it buries Obamacare, that health care provision, which has covered tens of millions of uninsured Americans since 2010.
In 2016, Obama didn't elect someone to the position. Is the Senate now potentially going to break the convention that it set out 4 years ago if it takes a different course of action this time?
Let's call it like it is. There was no convention before Mitch McConnell said in early 2016 that you cannot confirm a justice in the year of a presidential election. What Mitch McConnell did was spend 11 months with the support of Republican senators blocking the Obama administration from following the standard process of replacing the late Antonin Scalia with its nominee Merrick Garland. 4 years later, Mitch McConnell is setting aside his own rule. In other words, one rule for me, one rule for thee, and saying we wouldn't let a Democrat bring a justice to the bench in 11 months, but within the next 44 days, we'll ensure that a Republican president can get his selection on the court to affect it for decades.
A Supreme Court vacancy is always a hugely significant political event in the US, but the timing of this makes it even more so. How do you think it's going to affect the next month and a half of campaigning for the White House?
Well, the Trump camp's gamble is, along with Mitch McConnell, that they can secure what, has been mythically called the Trump base. That they get an arch conservative that rally, for example, voters who have abortion as a major issue, because the hope would be that a conservative court can make abortion illegal. I think, however, it is a big gamble because it is probably just as likely that voters may be turned off by this rush to make the court political and to do it so quickly. We have already seen in opinion polls that a majority of Americans do not believe that the Supreme Court justice should be confirmed before the election. And I think the Democrats will push on a key issue here, and that is, if you get this justice put in place, your health care provision will be in danger. You may not be able to get essential care for yourself. And that could be a vote winner, not only for Joe Biden, but for Democratic candidates in the race to control the Senate and Congress.